The second assignment on the note-taking and bibliography's capacity matrix is to make an outline. You need to be able to take notes from a reading, such as a textbook. And remember to get a 3 on this standard. It says, for outlines, creates an outline in the correct format. So I'm going to go over here. I've already gone to this document. And look over the different steps. Step 1, file, make a copy. Step 2, file, move to folder. I've already done those parts, so I'm just going to go over to this tab where I did this and go on to the directions. Directions, create an outline of chapter 10. Each section of the chapter is a separate PDF file. You need to follow the outline format found here. We'll go over this in class, or you can use this video. Some examples have been done for you. Right away, I see these 4 sections. They are separate PDF files. They're not all together. You're going to have to do an outline of each one of these sections. And it's probably going to take a little bit of time to do this. That's why you have a few days to do this assignment. First, you want to make sure you're familiar with the format. I'm going to click on this link here. And this is just going to show you how to actually make an outline. Kind of like before you're writing a paper in your ELA class, you make an outline of what you want your paper to be. Usually you say something about your main idea and then your supporting topics or your supporting reasons. But we're just doing it of a text. So we're going to have the first topic of the section and the supporting topic, and I'll show you how in just a minute. I like to change the colors. This helps me to just organize the text, and the supporting topics, the heading, they're going to be in red text here because when I go to the book, it's also going to be red text in the book. So that's just a way to organize it in my mind. Let me click on this first chapter reading here. I'm just going to hit this little over arrow so I don't have to see it. And it says 1, war breaks out in Europe. So I'm going to go back to here. The outline title, I'm going to start typing here, is going to be World War I. The chapter, this is chapter 10, and the first part I'm doing is section 1. Chapter 10, section 1. Oops, I didn't put the right title. I need to write War Breaks Out. Actually, I'm just going to put World War I. The first part, War Breaks Out in Europe. I have an I right here, and that's because I'm using this this numbered list. Right here is a good outline format. The first one is going to be I. When it indents, it'll go to A and B. If I didn't indent further, it'll do 1, 2, 3, and it'll separate it that way. You can see this on here. This is how each of this is done. An important thing to remember is that you never have to type the letters or numbers. The sheet will already do it for you if you select the right numbers thing in the toolbar. That way, I'm just going to use the tab key the entire time, and I'll show you what I mean by that in just a moment. So I need to put a supporting topic for my heading. That's the next thing I need to do. So I already have this. So I'm going to do that, and it has a 2. I don't want a 2. I want to indent it, so I'm going to press the tab key. And I want the color of this to be red, because that's what it is right here. And I see the title or the subheading, Causes of World War I. So I'm going to write in here, Causes of World War I. It goes to B next. My B isn't way down here, stalemate in the trenches. I'm not there yet, because I want to write some details. So I'm going to change this color to black first of all, and I'm going to tab in, and it makes it number 1. So let's see what I can write here. Automatically, these words in bold, they pop out at me. Whenever you see a bolded word, you know that that is going to be something important, something that you're going to have to remember, especially when it comes time to take a test. So it says, a single action, the assassination of Archduke started World War I, but the conflict had many underlying reasons. So these must be the 4 causes right here. First one, imperialism. Britain, France, Germany, and Italy competed for colonies in Africa and Asia. Because it has fewer colonies in Britain and France, Germany felt it deserved more colonies to provide resources and buy its goods. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to type what I just read, imperialism. I'm going to fix that typo. And down here it goes to number 2, but I want to write more details on imperialism, so I'm going to tab in. Another way to do that is these little controls up here where it says increase and decrease indent. So I can decrease my indent or I can increase it. I want it to be A, and I'm going to write what I just read. Actually, it'll be more of a summary, just a gist of what I read. So I'm going to write many European countries have colonies. And the second part I read was Germany thought it deserved more colonies, and I write because, why did it say Germany wanted more colonies? Because they wanted more resources. Oops, wrong one. Because they wanted more resources. And I'm going to press enter. I'm going to reread this real quick. I think that's good for imperialism. So I need to go on to nationalism next. And I can read this part. And then I'm going to go over here and I need to get back at the same level imperialism was. So I'm going to go up here to decrease indent. And now I can write nationalism. Increase my indent by clicking the tab key. I'm going to write Europeans were nationalistic. And that's probably a new word, nationalistic. So I want to make sure I know what that means. If they're nationalistics, that means strong feelings of pride. And since I already read this, I know what I'm going to write. They thought their nations were the best. Some ethnic groups wanted their own country. So that's what I have for nationalism. Now I'm going to go back to the text and make sure that I summarized it or wrote notes quickly. The goal of doing notes, you want to be able to read a text, but later you want to be able to go back to your notes and still know the most important information that the text said. So if I'm looking at nationalism, it says Europeans were very nationalistic. I said that Europeans were nationalistic. That's definitely important. Here, meaning they had strong feelings of pride, loyalty, and protectiveness toward their own countries. They wanted to prove their nations were the best. They placed their country's interest above all countries. In addition, some ethnic groups hoped to form their own separate nation and were willing to fight for such a cause. So right here, I don't have that they were willing to fight. Instead, I just have they wanted their own country. Because if I'm going back to my notes later, just by writing that, some ethnic groups wanted their own country, that's going to trigger my mind to remember what the text said, that they wanted their own country, so they were willing to fight for the cause. I'm going to press enter again. You'll notice that I never type in what I'm doing like this. I always push enter. Now I'm on number 3. Number 3 was militarism. Enter. I'm going to press the tab key and go in. And I want to define that again. And that's going to be believing that a nation needs a large military system. Military, the belief that it needs a large military force. Instead of system, I better use their word that they used, force. And if I go back in decades before the war, major powers built up their armies and navies. Oh, and here's a map too that will show me it. So their armies and navies, it's only 2 sentences, but This seems like a very important thing because this is giving us more background information on it. So I'm going to go back to here, and on B, I'm going to put countries had been building up their military. And then in parentheses, I'm going to put Army and Navy. At this time, they didn't have Air Force yet. So if you think of our military of the US, we have the Army and the Navy and Air Force. Usually those are the three main branches people will name. We didn't have Air Force yet because this is still in World War I. Now, what I want to do, I have war outbreaks, causes. I have 3 parts here. I still need to do one for alliances. And I'm going to tab in. I'm just going to pretend that I wrote some stuff there and go on to the next part. And for letter B, so I'm just going to skip over this part for now. It says stalemate in the trenches. We're going to click over here. I'm going to type in stalemate in the trenches. That's the heading there. And now I have to write something for this paragraph here. And if you remember this red text right here, I'm going to make my red text in my outline the same thing. So now stalemate in the trenches. If I go back to this how to make an outline format, I just did this part right here. Now I'm on to B, and I'm going to do the exact same thing again, only this time I don't have bolded words that I can find like I did above. So stalemate in the trenches. It says, when the war began in August, most people on both sides assumed it would be over within a few months. That's definitely going to be important. With France as its goal, the German army invaded Belgium on August 4th, 1914. Despite stiff resistance, the Germans fought their way west into France. They reached the Marne River about 40 miles from Paris. There, the French, supported by the British, rallied and prepared to fight back. The First Battle of the Marne in September 1914 stopped the German advance. There's a lot of facts in this. Now I have to try to figure out what's the most important parts of this paragraph. What do I need to have go into my notes? And the first thing I'm going to see, this first sentence that stuck out. So I'm going to write, people thought the fighting would quickly end. Oh, I forgot my period. Press enter. But it wasn't ending quickly. I'm going to press tab in because each number in this one is going to be a new paragraph. And I can say now that with France as its goal, the German army invaded Belgium. So Germany invaded Belgium. And then what happened? Germany fought into France. Germany fought through Belgium to get to France. And then France and Britain stopped the German advance. France and Great Britain stopped the German advance. Oh, why would I spell that? I'm going to press enter again. And I think that's all I need for the paragraph. Those 3 things, that gives me the gist of what happened. If you press enter again, it'll go back to number 2. So now I can read the second paragraph. Instead of one side quickly defeating the other, the 2 sides stayed stuck in the mud for 3 years. The soldiers were fighting a new kind of battle, trench warfare. Stuck in the mud. I know right away, that's probably important. The title of this is called stalemate. Stalemate means that like 2 people kind of want to fight each other, but they're not. They're just kind of staring at each other. They're stuck where they are. So I'm going to write both sides became stuck. And now I need to say what I mean by that. In trench warfare, there's a bolded word. I know I'm going to have to say something about trench warfare. Trench warfare. And what does that mean? The soldiers were fighting a new kind. Troops huddled at the bottom of rat-infested trenches. They fired artillery and machine guns on other lines at each other. Lines of trenches stretched across France from the English Channel to the border of Switzerland. Illustrated in, oh, that's a picture. For more than 3 years, the battle lines remained almost unchanged. Neither side could win a clear victory. So a trench, kind of like a big ditch. It says right here, a long, deep ditch dug for protection. A long, deep ditch dug for protection. Trenches were dug across France from the English Channel to, they say Switzerland, to the border with Switzerland. And what did it say that last sentence of this? Neither side could win a clear victory. For more than 3 years, battle lines remained unchanged. No one could win in this kind of warfare. They were stuck like this for 3 years. That's a long time. I'm going to press enter, and now I can either press enter to go out to number 3, or if I go this way, I can go up to this increase, decrease indent, and I can start my next paragraph. If you have other questions, come see me.